Emma, you have one of the best female forehands I've ever seen. I would easily rank it like top 50 WTA.
Thank you so much.
No problem. And you know what's great about your forehand? You actually can play it with spin, you know, because a lot of other WTA players, they play a little bit more flat, but you can also play with power and you have a great forehand return. But when I looked at your forehand in slow motion, you have some of the typical characteristics of a WTA forehand, and which is, number one, the first thing that everybody notices is that when you take your racket back, the racket kind of goes behind the body like this. And that usually correlates also with a contact that's closer to the body with a bent arm. So my question to you is, are these two things, this larger backswing and this kind of closer contact to the body, something that you were taught, or did it kind of happen naturally?
No, I was always taught to have a short backswing and to hit with the elbow away.
Right. And then this other stuff kind of happened despite these tips.
Why would my contact be different? Why is WTA contact different than the ATP?
It's further behind. It's like here. Let's see, like here. And ATP is a little bit more here or here, like this. And it's because of the take back. So it goes from here on the ATP, and then it goes like this, and then this. No, I don't actually. I don't teach the backswing at all. I let it happen naturally. I never teach the backswing. And what happens with most female players is that if you let them swing naturally, the racket will go back here naturally, because that's where they feel more strength. They need a little bit extra room, and also it matches the type of forehand that has a little bit later contact. Because the truth is that the vast majority of females play, if you take like a still shot right at the moment of contact, you will see this right here on almost all of them, even Serena. And if you look at the men, it's a little bit more in front. So this has to match the backswing. So if I go more ATP style from here to here, there's enough room there. If I go from here to here, there's not enough room. You see, there's not enough range of motion. You don't get enough power from that. So you need a little bit extra room to go from here to here and then here. But the thing about timing that's a little bit confusing, and I'll try to explain it with a comparison to my forehand. So if I try to take the racket back like you and took the racket too far back, see, my contact is going to remain the same. So I'm going to make contact a little bit more further in front than you, for example. So from here to here, it's not going to be enough time, and I'm going to make contact late. And yes, indeed, I'm going to hit the ball late, which doesn't mean that if you take the racket back to this place that you're going to hit it late, because your contact is going to be a little bit further behind. And if you look at, like, for example, Serena or any of the other players who are playing like on fast surfaces or grass courts, they don't really, I mean, they're not late. They're hitting the unbelievably hard, like Madison Keys or Sloane Stephens. They're hitting the ball so hard, and they're not late on the forehand. But what's funny about that is if I tried your backswing, I went like this, I indeed would be late on my forehand. So Emma, let me try to ruin your forehand. I'm going to teach you ATP style, okay? So the first thing you got to do is you got to close the strings on the outside as you drop the racket. And let's see what happens right there. So I'm going to drop feed it. So basically you go like this right here. So you just close the racket. You close the racket here, and then accelerate from there.
So close the racket here.
Do it again. I think you're still going a little too far back. You close it on the outside. Good. You feel how much shorter it is, the stroke? You know why? Because you're still making the same contact. So there's not enough continuity in the swing. It's more short, it's more cramped up, right? Because you're going here and then here like this. Here, try it again. Do it again. And you know, it's funny, like you told me before, you actually were, did you tell me you were taught in college to like go a little bit more here?
Yeah, shorten it up.
So even though they tried to shorten it up, it still would naturally go a little further back.
Yeah.
And do you feel like your forehand there was problems with timing, or did you have any issues with it?
My forehand actually improved a lot during college.
Yeah.
So
I think your forehand is amazing. I mean, like, for example, your forehand is so good. if you start making these little changes, it's very possible that you make it worse.
It just doesn't feel natural. When we're trying this, I feel like I'm just muscling it.
It's muscling, right?
I don't know, like
there's not enough room.
Muscling it, and then I just feel my arm working a lot.
Right.
Like I'm all, I don't know.
I think there's not enough momentum. So you see, backswing creates momentum, right? So there, from here, it's just not enough momentum. It just doesn't fit with you because, again, I feel that the correlation is important with the contact. You will naturally make contact here, and it's very hard to change that. I mean, you can force the arm to be straight, but that wouldn't do you any good.
Sorry, but so the ATP players, the men,
yeah.
I guess, so they don't take the racket back, they just go here?
Well, there's actually, believe it or not, there's a few guys who take it back WTA style, like Jeremy Chardy, Florian Mayer. There's a few guys who will take the racket a little bit more on the, behind the body like this. And of course, there's probably others that are ranked below the top 100 that we don't know about. But the vast majority of ATP players will close the racket more on the outside like this, what they call the hitting side of the body. So it's going to be on, if I'm right-handed, it's going to be on my right side. The racket really never breaks this side of the body. It stays here, and as they accelerate, it goes back like this.
Here, and then the contact is more in front?
Yeah, so the contact is going to be more in front on ATP for sure. So even though most ATP are bent to with the arm, they will have a little bit more space between the elbow and the body, like this. Where WTA, the elbow is definitely much closer to the body. If you look like Sloane Stephens, even Serena, Muguruza, like some of the greatest forehands, you'll see this, the elbow very close to the body. And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, because those forehands are so good. They're maybe the best WTA forehands in the world. It's just naturally what happens that some players, especially females, will feel a little bit more strength making contact closer to the torso.
So then my question is, once you see your player starting to do that, you don't worry about it?
In my opinion, I don't. See, what's going to happen, there's going to be a few females who will be a little bit more straight, and they will take the racket back a little bit shorter. And you do see that on tour. There's some like Justine Henin or Sam Stosur. There's always some. So if it's coming naturally without instruction, then it's perfectly fine. Let them play more the ATP style. But I would never force a female player, female junior, to adapt an ATP forehand, because in the vast majority of cases, it doesn't come natural. So what I do is just let them take the racket back naturally, and then just work on the fundamentals. All right, so now take a couple of more regular forehands and just let it rip so you can recalibrate your forehand. Try again. Here we go. And go real hard on these two. Awesome forehand, Emma. Good job. Nice.